Every relationship is built on unspoken contracts, silent agreements that define who does what, who gives what, and who sacrifices what. These contracts are rarely verbalized, yet they govern the entire dynamic. You don't sit down with your partner and sign a document that says, "You provide emotional comfort, I'll provide financial stability." But that's exactly what happens in practice. At the core, every partnership functions division of value. One partner may provide security, financial stability, protection, or consistency. The other may provide affection, nurturing, romance, or emotional depth. One might sacrifice time and career ambitions for the relationship or family. The other might shoulder more of the decision making or responsibility. These aren't random, they're negotiated unconsciously over time, shaped by culture, upbringing, personality, and need. The danger lies in the fact that because these agreements are never explicitly stated, they are also never explicitly updated. What worked in year one might not work in year three. Maybe the partner who once loved being the emotional anchor starts to feel drained. Maybe the one who agreed to provide financial support begins to resent the unequal pressure. That's when conflict begins, not because the relationship is inherently broken, but because the silent contract is being violated. The terms have changed, but no one has acknowledged it. One partner feels cheated, while the other insists nothing has changed. Both are technically right, because the deal was never written down to begin with. The healthiest relationships recognize that these contracts must be renegotiated. Instead of silently assuming, strong couples make the implicit explicit. They talk openly. "I feel like I'm carrying more of the load. Can we redistribute?" Or, "I need more emotional presence from you. Otherwise, the deal feels unfair." Love isn't just about grand gestures or romantic feelings. It's about managing a series of silent deals that determine whether both people still feel valued, respected, and fairly compensated in the partnership. When those contracts are honored, love feels effortless. When they're broken, resentment creeps in. And when they're renegotiated successfully, the relationship evolves instead of collapsing. In every relationship, power isn't fixed. It shifts depending on who controls the resources the other person values most. Resources don't just mean money, they include affection, emotional availability, attention, loyalty, status, or even sexual exclusivity. Think of it like a balance scale. If one partner is delivering more of what the other needs, they hold the leverage. The one who feels dependent has less negotiating power. That's why relationships can feel equal in the honeymoon phase, but imbalanced later on, because the value exchange shifts over time. For example, if one partner earns significantly more and covers most expenses, they may feel entitled to more decision-making power. If the other provides the emotional backbone of the relationship, listening, comforting, supporting, they may quietly hold the upper hand because the relationship collapses without that input. If one partner suddenly improves their life, getting fitter, richer, or more socially desirable, the power dynamic tilts toward them. The critical point is this: the person who feels they have better options outside the relationship always has more leverage inside the relationship. If you believe your partner can't or won't find someone better, you negotiate from strength. If you feel replaceable, you negotiate from weakness. This is why relationships that once felt balanced can slowly become lopsided. The terms of the unspoken contract didn't change on paper, but the rendered market value of each partner did. One partner might stop appreciating what the other brings to the table, or one might upgrade their own options, tipping the balance in their favor. Healthy couples recognize these shifts and consciously rebalance the scales. They don't weaponize their leverage. Instead, they maintain fairness by making sure value flows both ways, even when circumstances change. Because once the balance tips too far for too long, the partner with less power either grows resentful or starts looking for a better deal elsewhere. Most people imagine breakups as sudden events, an explosive fight, a betrayal discovered, or the dreaded we need to talk conversation. But the truth is, breakups don't happen in a single moment. They're the result of months, sometimes years, of failed renegotiations. Every argument, every late night conversation, every promise to do better is really a renegotiation of the contract. One partner raises a grievance. I need more time together. The other offers a compromise. I'll try, but work is demanding. For a while, that new deal holds. But when the same issue resurfaces again and again, it signals that the renegotiation is failing. Breakups, then, aren't sudden ruptures. They're the final signing of a contract that's been collapsing in slow motion. The moment you hear, it's over, isn't when the relationship ends. It's when the backlog of unmet renegotiations finally becomes unbearable. Here's the brutal part. By the time a breakup conversation happens, one partner has already processed it emotionally. They've mentally withdrawn months earlier, tested whether life without you feels survivable, and concluded that it does. The dramatic ending you experience is, for them, just paperwork. Why do renegotiations fail? Usually for three reasons. One, repeated promises without lasting change. Words are cheap, patterns are everything. When issues resurface endlessly, trust erodes. 2. Mismatch in priorities. One partner sees the issue as negotiable, the other sees it as non negotiable. Over time, compromise turns into quiet resentment. 3. Power imbalance. The partner with more leverage may ignore requests, assuming the other won't leave. Eventually, that assumption proves wrong. Seen this way, breakups aren't acts of betrayal or sudden loss. They're the logical outcome of failed deal making. And that shift in perspective, it changes everything. Instead of asking, why did she leave so suddenly? The better question is, how many renegotiations failed before she left? Strong relationships don't avoid renegotiations. They embrace them. They treat conflicts as opportunities to realign the contract, not as annoyances to brush aside. Couples who can successfully rewrite their unspoken deals again and again are the ones who avoid the silent buildup of resentment that eventually demands an exit. The breakup isn't the moment of collapse, it's this receipt of months of unpaid emotional debt. In healthy business deals, terms are written out, signed, and revisited. In relationships, the opposite happens. Most deals are made silently through unspoken trade offs that both partners feel but never say out loud. You don't sit across from your partner and declare, I'll tolerate your mood swings if you stay loyal, or I'll sacrifice some passion in exchange for financial security. But in reality, that's exactly how many relationships operate. Every couple develops a set of implicit exchanges. Affection traded for loyalty, stability traded for excitement, freedom traded for commitment. These trade-offs form the backbone of the relationship. But because they're never formally acknowledged, they're also fragile. One partner might believe the deal is fair, while the other feels exploited. For example, one person thinks, I work long hours to provide for us, so it's okay if I'm less emotionally available. The other thinks, I didn't sign up for a paycheck at the cost of being ignored. Neither is necessarily wrong. but they're operating under different versions of the silent contract. The danger is that silent trade offs tend to accumulate resentment over time. What begins as a small compromise, I'll let this slide for the sake of peace, slowly snowballs into a sense of imbalance. By the time resentment is expressed, it feels less like a request and more like a lawsuit. This is why communication is so often cited as the lifeblood of strong relationships. Not because talking is magical, but because talking is the only way to surface the silent traits that are quietly shaping the deal. Couples who avoid those conversations live inside mismatched contracts, each believing they're upholding their end while feeling the other is not. The strongest relationships make the implicit explicit. They drag silent trade offs into the light and renegotiate them openly. If I'm working late nights, I need you to know it's for us, not against us. If you need more alone time, I'll support that. But I'll need reassurance in other ways. When these unspoken deals remain invisible, they become the seeds of dissatisfaction. But when they're acknowledged, they transform into tools for clarity and fairness. Because here's the truth: every relationship is full of trade offs. The difference between lasting love and quiet collapse is whether those trades are made consciously or silently until it's too late. No contract, whether in business or love, lasts forever without updates. Circumstances change, needs evolve. What felt like a fair deal in the beginning eventually feels outdated if it's never revisited. The best relationships understand this truth. Love isn't about avoiding conflict, it's about mastering renegotiation. In weak relationships, renegotiations are treated like threats. Why are you complaining again? Isn't what I'm giving enough? In strong ones, renegotiations are treated like maintenance. Let's check in. What's working? What isn't? How do we keep this fair for both of us? Think about how drastically life changes across the span of a relationship. The partner who once had endless free time may now be building a career. The one who once loved constant intimacy may later prioritize personal space. Financial burdens, health challenges, family obligations all reshape the balance of give and take. If the contract stays frozen in its original form, it eventually cracks under new realities. The only way forward is constant revision. This doesn't mean endless fights or nitpicking every detail. It means having a culture of raw and open renegotiation before resentment takes root. The healthiest couples ask each other hard questions regularly. Are we still dividing responsibilities fairly? Do you feel emotionally supported in the ways you need right now? What would make this relationship feel more balanced for you? By making renegotiation a habit, these couples prevent silent contracts from hardening into unfairness. They update the terms before frustration becomes withdrawal, before unmet needs become deal breakers. Here's the paradox: people often think love should be effortless, that if you're meant to be, everything flows naturally. In reality, the strongest relationships are the ones that work like professional partnerships. Regular check ins, honest feedback, constant adjustments. Love doesn't survive because two people never disappoint each other. It survives because they never stop renegotiating the contract to keep it fair. That's the secret. Not romance, not chemistry, not destiny. Renegotiation. The couples who treat it as an ongoing process don't just stay together, they stay satisfied.